Okay, good stuff. So now maybe I'll actually be able to do that. That's wonderful. So if you remember last chapter was with the last shofet, judge, or if you want to call it leader, was Gidon, and Gidon was actually the shofet for 40 years. So we found that's kind of like a magic number. GB number, but it's got some stature. So far we've had Gidon was the fifth shofet, and we had the first one was Otniel for 40 years. We had Ehud, which was for 80 years. So it's a double 40. The next one we had Shamgar, which is a really, really short shofet just for 1 year, again for 40 years, Gidon. And so from Gidon, he saved the Israelites from the Midianites, and he ended off with being very. He had many wives, he had many concubines, and he spent pretty much the rest of his life after he finally they came from under the rule of the Midianites. He spent it really enlarging his family, and he had a lot of children, as we will find out in this chapter. Their bitter end, but it's quite gruesome. So I hope that in terms of it's not, they don't give you details, but the whole Gideon's second name. What was his nickname?
Yosi, you keep cutting out.
So it maybe is because of the as I mentioned, the bandwidth. So I apologize for that. Maybe I'm going to ask everybody to mute themselves, just because maybe that's.
Well, I think if they don't show their image, that would help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe if I'm going to ask everybody just to close their cameras, and I'll leave mine on. I apologize for everybody, and just if you want, please mute. And when you want to talk, please just feel free to unmute yourself, okay? Just if there's any static. Is that better, Cindy?
Well, I think so.
Okay.
Now I'm going to mute.
Okay, great. So you know what? So while it's still working, let's jump right into chapter 9. The second name, by the way, Gidon's nickname was Yerubbaal, if you remember, after his act of breaking the pagan symbols. He was given the name Yerubbaal. So whenever we see Yerubbaal, we are referring to Gidon. Vayelech Avimelech ben Yerubbaal, and the son of Yerubbaal, of Gidon, went Shechema, to the city of Shechem, El Achei Imo, to his brothers, the brothers of his mother, Vaydaber Alehem ve'el kol mishpachat beit avi imo le'emor. And he spoke to his whole family, whole clan, Beit Avi Imo, the family of his father and his mother, and this is what he was saying. So obviously there are many wives that Gidon had, and he's speaking to their family. He speaks to him. Dabru na boznei chol ba'alei Shechem. Go out and put this quandary towards, in front of all the citizens of Shechem. Ma tov lachem, what do you prefer? Hameshol bachem shivim ish. Do you prefer?
It can't hurt to get a couple of quotes to take that.
Sorry.
That thing down before it crosses.
Do you prefer to be ruled by 70 people? That is kol bnei Yerubbaal, all the children, all the sons of Yerubbaal. Imam meshol bechem ish echad. Or do you prefer to be ruled or governed by one person? Uzchartem, but just remember one thing. Ki atzmechem uvsarchem ani, for I am your own flesh and blood. So do you understand what's happening here? Avimelech now in the quake of Gideon's passing, Avimelech wants to be the next in line. So he says, what do you prefer? If we have 70 rulers, you'll get nowhere. It's going to be chaos. Or you want one person, and just by happenstance, remember that I'm just like your own flesh and blood. I'm who you are. And he's speaking right now to the 70 brothers. Vaidabru acheimo alav. His mother's brothers said all this on his behalf. Dozne kol ba'alei Shechem, to the entire citizens of the city of Shechem. Et kol hadvarim ha'eleh. They spoke every single word. Sorry, let me just enter this. Vayet libam acharei Avimelech, and they were won over by Avimelech, ki amru achinuhu, for they said he is our kinsman. So he's just like us. He's a local guy. So and the citizens were won over by Avimelech, and they want to follow him. Vaitnu lo shiv'im kesef mi beit Baal Brit. They gave him 70 shekels from the temple of Baal Brit. Vaiskor bahem Avimelech anashim rekim ufochazim v'elchu acharav. And from that money, he hired some worthless and reckless and very empty people who followed him. So what's this connection with Shiv'im Kesef, 70 men? It is as though each person, one of his brothers, almost
We've lost your audio, Yosi.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. So it's showing me my internet connection's unstable. So I apologize. If it continues, maybe it might be worth it to delay. But let's continue. So he received 70 pieces of silver shekels representing his brethren. His brothers, basically, they are kind of telling him, we are giving ourselves up to you. And with that, he goes out and hires really useless workers. Okay, and listen to what he does. Vayavo Beit Aviv Afrata, and he went to his father's house in Ophrah. And what does he do? Vayaharog et echav bnei Yeruba'al shivim ish al even echat. He goes out to the sons to where all his brothers were living, and he kills them all on one stone. Vayivater Yotam ben Yerubal hakaton ki nechba. However, only one of the 70 escaped. He was hiding. His name is Yotam. Pretty gruesome, no? From 70 brothers, now there are only 2. Vayaspu kol ba'alei Shechem v'chol beit Milo, and all the citizens of Shechem and all the citizens of Beit Milo gathered together. Vayamlichu et Avimelech lemelech, and they anoint, they proclaim Avimelech as king. Im elon mutzav asher b'Shechem, and they do this in the center of town, right by the pillar of Shechem. And again, this is analogous to Avodah Zarah, that they have lost their way again. So even beforehand, we see that we're right now spiraling in the wrong direction. Vayagidu leYotam, and this was told to Yotam what has happened, that now his elder brother Avimelech is now being anointed king. Vayelech vayamod berosh har Grizim. What he did was he went up to the top of the mountain, Mount of Grizim, which overlooked this area. Vaisak kolo vayikra, and he raised up his voice and yelled out. Vayomer lahem, he yells out to this gathering. Shimu elai balei Shechem, listen to me, citizens of Shechem, and if you do, vishma alechem Elohim, and God will listen to you. Haloch, and now he's going to use a metaphor. Haloch.
Yosi, before you get there, why
Yes.
did they crown him king knowing that he had killed all his brothers?
No, he went over, now there are no other brothers, right? According to him, they're scared of him, right? And he's technically the son of Gidon. He obviously had that kind of relationship that exuded some kind of power and freight over the people, and he was very charming, and he weaseled his way, talked his way through it, and then he eliminated his brothers to make sure that there is no going back. So now, whether they like it or not, they're stuck with him. Okay. So in other words, the brothers, his brothers, they had a pact. They each gave him a coin to show him that everything's okay. Nonetheless, he went out and he slaughtered all of his brethren, except that one, Yotam, is the one who's saved. Okay, he's the one who escaped. So Yotam is yelling there. He's standing on top of the mountain, and he's going to give them a little bit of a metaphor. He says, "Haloch halchu haitzim limshoch alehem melech." Once there were trees who decided that they wanted to anoint a king over them. So what did they do? Vayomeru lazait malcha aleinu. They went over to the olive tree and they said to the olive tree, "Why don't you rule over us?" Vayomer lahem hazait. The olive tree told them, "Hechedalti edidishni. Have I, through whom God and men are honored, stopped yielding my rich oil that I should go and wave above the trees?" In other words, what am I to rule over all the trees? All right. So all the trees went over. They went over to the fig tree. Maybe you come and reign over us. So the fig tree retorts and says, "Vatomer lahem ateina." The fig tree replies, "Hechedalti et motki. Have I stopped yielding my sweetness? Vet tnuvati atova, and all my delicious fruit, that which I give off. Vehalachti lanu al haitzim, in order that I should go and be the ruler of the trees." In other words, what the trees are answering is, have I stopped what I need to do? The olive tree says, have I stopped growing olives? No, that is what I do. I grow olives. I don't. I haven't. My position is not to rule over you. They went over to the fig tree. Will you rule over us? The fig tree says, have I stopped producing what I need to do? What I was created to produce? No. I'm not the one to start ruling over the trees. And so the trees went over to the vine. Why don't you come and reign over us? Likewise, the grape, the vine says, have I stopped yielding my wine? The wine, that which gladdens God and men? In order for me to go and rule over trees. In other words, has my purpose in being, is it ended or changed that now I become king? No, I want to go and make wine. And so then all the trees said to the thorn bush, why don't you come and reign over us? And the thorn bush turned to all the trees and said, if honorably you really want to anoint me king over you, come and take shelter in my shade. But if you are not making this genuine offer for me to reign over you, let there be a fire come out from my thorn bush, from myself, and that all the cedars, all of Lebanon should burn from this fire. Ve'ata, however, im bemet uftamim asitem. This is right now. That was does anybody not get the metaphor? Anybody was the metaphor clear? What he's trying to compare? Which tree, out of all the trees, which tree accepted to become a king?
I guess it's the lowliest plant.
Exactly. That offers what?
Shade.
That's what it says, betzili, but a thorn bush. Does a thorn, who goes under a thorn bush for shade?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody. What happens to you if you go under a thorn bush?
You're gonna get prickled.
You're gonna get cut. You're not gonna. The tree offers absolutely nothing. In other words, he's gonna obviously compare. He's gonna compare Avimelech to a thorn bush. That even if you go and want to be ruled by him, you're only gonna get hurt. You can't even. There's nothing that he can offer the citizens. So that is the mashal. That is the metaphor that he's using. So now he's continuing. Now he's talking. Now he's talking back again to the people. Ve'ata. Now listen to me. If you acted honorably and you didn't mean to do this with any malice, and you actually went and anointed Avimelech as your king. V'im tova asitim em Yerubal v'im bito, and if you meant to do righteousness with Yerubal, with Gidon and his family, ve'im kigmul yadav asitim lo, and if you actually requited him according to his deserts. In other words, you did that which he deserved done to him, which is only good. Why? What did Gidon do to you? What did my father do to you? Hasher nilcham avi alechem. You remember that my father fought for you. Vayashlechet nafsho mineged, and he put his life out in order to save you. Vayatzel etchem miyad Midian, and he risked his life and saved you from the life of Midian. Do you see, by the way, the word vayatzel? Does that look like another word? Vayatzel? Let's look back. What was the one thing that the thorn bush offered?
Betzili.
Betzili. You see Betzili? My shade.
Tail.
Tzel is my shade. And here it's a play on word vayatzel, and he shaded you and he saved you. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, if you want to look at it, it's a play on words. Okay,
Yeah.
I find it very. Michael, you have a question? So Michael, just unmute yourself, please. Yes.
Assuming that you can hear me, because I'm having some problems hearing you tonight. The audio is very crackly. But in any event, none of that Abimelech, no one can be king yet because we're even before Shaul. This is still the time of Shaul team, and there aren't any kings.
So it's not king in the sense of the progression of leadership in the grand scheme of things. It's that he anointed himself as the leader, calling himself king, calling himself head tribeman. It's just that the idea that he forced himself upon the people of Shechem and that whole area
Yosi,
through the lineage of
your
being the
audio,
son. Yes, Philip.
your audio is fine. It's Michael's that's garbled.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, I know, but we heard him fine. He asked.
Yes, I understood.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. That's good to know. It's just a linguistic use of the word king. No, there is no meaning for that for Avimelech to be placed in the same rung as kings to come. That's going to be the next. That's going to be the next level of leadership after Shoftim. That the people want a king. Okay, so it's not in the same category. It's just they're using the word king to hint to the power that he wanted to have. Okay, so he says, if you really did this innocently, because you wanted to have the lineage of Gidon continue, and you've done the right thing, because remember what my father did to you. V'atem kamtem al beit avi. However, you have now turned on my father's household. V'tahargu et banav, and you killed his children. Shivim ish, 11 echat. You killed him on one stone. By the way, what's this stone that he's talking about? What's so important about one stone?
Is it this?
It wasn't Even Chen.
Thank you, Philip. That's very. But what's this hang up about this one stone? Being killed on one stone, one stone. Any idea?
Was Isaac killed on a stone?
Not killed on a stone, but Isaac was going to be brought up as
I know he wasn't killed. I don't know why I said that. But I mean, the place where he was, they were going to, before God stopped them. Was that a
Yeah.
stone?
It was not really a stone. It was Vayakod. It seemed they put. There was, it could be on top of a stone, and then he put how do you call it, trees on it in order for him to burn. That's how they would prepare and burn the offering, which Isaac was going to be. But
Sorry?
I don't think that's, but I understand what you're trying. That's interesting. But had it been on two stones, then Yitzchak would have not been around. He would have to be put on two stones. Yes, fine.
It suggests they were executed in one site, which may have been
Yes. Which means what?
smashed against a stone or beheaded on a stone or.
So it's even more gruesome. Imagine we have the mercy of the mother bird. You know, with the mother bird with the eggs.
Yeah.
What's the rule if you want to take how do you call it? If you go into a nest and there's a mother bird there that is sitting on top of her eggs, what do you do?
You send the mother bird away so she doesn't see you taking the eggs.
Right. Why?
You don't want to hurt her.
Right,
They're her
because
children.
right. So in other words, at least you show her, and she doesn't have to get the agony of you snatching the eggs. Okay. So what happens here? There's 70 brethren are killed on one stone. Do you think that they saw each other being killed, or at least when they came back, they saw the bodies being there and they understood what was going on?
Oh, they were killed at the same time then.
Or being known that they were all exactly. Otherwise, they would have all gone. If they have one, they would have. By the time they would have gotten to 70. In other words, he wanted to send a very cruel message on one stone. And there's an allusion, by the way, again to the Evan, the again idolatry of that stone that they used to have. That they used to erect one stone. But even more so was that diabolical decision that Avimelech made. He wanted to create not only pain, but it was achzariut. It was such cruelty that he killed them all, not in their homes. That he went in and he pulled them out, gathered them all together, and executed them as one. Can you imagine? You don't even want to imagine what it's like. The closest thing that I can actually come to see this is what happened in not in the same numbers, obviously, but in the Holocaust, where families were taken out and you saw your family members being executed in front of you. It's one thing if you didn't know where they were, and it doesn't. The loss is of course not any and made any less, but the pain that when you the trauma that is caused is unbelievable. So imagine this is the kind of trauma that he wanted to inflict upon not only the members of their families, not to question him, but even the community. How cruel Avimelech can be to his brethren. So that is why we're always mentioning that one stone. Okay? So
Sounds
he's
like
telling,
Hitler.
yeah, so he's telling them right now, the Yotam is telling them, you have turned away from my father's household. You killed 70 of his sons on one stone together, executed them. And what do you do? You went up, anointed Avimelech. Who was Avimelech? Avimelech was just the son of a handmaid. He wasn't even a wife. And what did you do? You anointed them on Baalei Shechem, on the entire populace of Shechem, because you said Ki achichem hu, for he's your brother. He's not. He's not even on the same level as you are. ואם באמת, ובתמים עשיתם מירובעל וביתו היום הזה, and if you say loyally towards Yerubal, towards Gidon and his household, have joy in Avimelech, and may he likewise have joy in you. In other words, if you were doing this because you believe this was the truthful thing, then I wish you only good times. You and Avimelech only good times. Ve'im ein, however, if this is not so,
Yosi,
yes, Cindy.
I'm a bit confused about the numbers because
Okay,
I thought there only were 70 sons.
excellent. So
There's still 2 alive, so they couldn't have killed 70.
right. So one excellent. I was waiting for that. So the idea is when he uses 70, he's using the entire the Avimelech's original plan was to get rid of everybody. Yotam got saved, but what did he want to do, Avimelech? Wipe everybody out. He had 70.
We're losing your audio.
Yeah, I just lost you.
So there were Avimelech had 70 brothers. So there were obviously 71 of them.
Right.
He was the son of a handmaid. So he was kind of a half brother, if you want to say. And even if not that, his intention, Avimelech's intention was to kill all of them. Yotam just was hiding, and maybe he didn't count correctly, or his henchmen didn't count correctly.
Correctly.
Um,
Okay.
They couldn't find him, but his intention was to wipe out everybody. So he's using that number in terms of his intention was to wipe out everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
I just happened to be saved. He's saying I just happened to escape it, and I'm here to, okay, to warn you. So now he says, so if you did this because you thought it was the righteous thing to do, then I wish you only good times, you and Avimelech good times. But if you did not do this out of righteousness, ve'im ein tetzeh esh me'Avimelech, may a fire issue forth from Avimelech and consume the citizens of Shechem and also the other city that anointed him, which is Beit Milo, and may fire issue from the citizens of Shechem, Beit Milo, and consume Avimelech. So it's a two-way fire, 2 fires. One, Avimelech will consume you, but you will also consume Avimelech. What happens? Vayanos Yotam, Vayvrach, Vayelech, Be'era. And at this time, with that message, Yotam goes out and flees, and he goes to Be'era. Vayeshev Sham mipnei Avimelech achiv, and he hid there and he stayed there because of his brother Avimelech. So this is.
Can I just, sorry.
Yes, Chaim.
In verse 20, Ba'ale, the meaning is citizens.
Yeah.
That's the exact translation of the Hebrew.
Where
Ba'ale is Ba'ale Shechem.
Ba'alei Shechem is the citizens of Shechem. Now Baal is also. Are you referring to a husband?
I'm just asking in how many ways that word can be interpreted. Ba'ale.
It could be interpreted in a lot of ways. Ba'alei Shechem is really all the people who have an agreement to live together, who have an arrangement of living together. That's what Ba'alei Shechem is. Baal can be either a husband, which is somebody who has an agreement with a partner. Baal is an owner of something. I'm a Baal of my car, let's say. I own my car, which means I have certain ownership because of the agreement that I made purchasing the car, etc., and I retain ownership of it. That's another meaning. And also let's see, I think that's the 4 meanings. Ba'alei is a husband, people who have an agreement, and people who have ownership, and a right, it was 3 or 4, and citizens.
Wasn't there a god, Baal?
Baal is another, yes, that's another, but that's something else. he's referring to the statement of Baalei Shechem. Baalei Shechem means the kinsmen that are living together, citizens with an agreement that they're living together. In other words, there's no quarrels. They understand boundary lines in terms of where their animals graze, etc. They're living together in a very organized community with an understanding.
Thank you.
Understand? It's actually really it's a really great how do you call it? You notice that there's actually a difference between Baalei Shechem and Umibeit Milo. Do you see it? It's twice in the pasuk. Vatochal et Baalei Shechem vet Beit Milo, the house of Milo. Do you see it? But Beit Milo also is referred to the house, the place itself, Beit Milo. But you can also translate it as the household or that community of Milo. And there could be a little bit of a difference in terms of Beit Milo. Most likely were people who lived in that city that were all related to each other. So it's Beit, it's kind of like a house. And Baalei Shechem are people who maybe it was a bigger city. Shechem was a bigger city, had different kinsmen, but they all lived within an agreement. In other words, they come together and they live harmoniously. They're not fighting with each other. They're all in a community, but they may not be the same from the same one family of people. Which in the olden days, a lot of cities were actually kinsmen or family oriented. They were way more homogenous than today. It's not like multicultural that we have today. People who you don't know. Obviously, the cities were not nearly as big. 100,000 people were the giant cities. They were the New Yorks and Tokyos and the Mexico cities of old. So certainly the population were not the same, but the effect is a little bit different. So thank you, Chaim, for noticing that. That was interesting. So this is where I wanted to reach today, because it's half of the story, and also with the communication difficulties. So we have right now this chapter ends, or the story midway of the chapter is that Yotam is right now, he runs off into hiding, and we will stop here for today because it's a really long chapter, and I have like only 13% on my how do you call it, on my phone, and I'm happy that I got this far. Any questions, by the way?
Yeah, Yosi, I have a quick scheduling question. Do you
Yes,
plan
Mike.
to meet during Chol Moed Pesach or to wait till after Pesach?
Can't hear.
I think we're okay because Chag is only Tuesday night, right?
Yeah, Chag starts Tuesday night.
So let's have I'm okay for how do you call it, for a lesson next week, and we'll finish this chapter.
Okay, good.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's good.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm gonna be back and forth, but I'll be here that night. That's fine.